Right. So in today's session, what we're going to do is, I'm going to cover a few things. Let me first set the structure for today's session. So since this is the very first session, so it is going to be more like an overview and demo session today. And from the next session onwards, we're going to get to the actual topics. So what we will do today is, first we are going to talk about like what is like some background and history about different technologies in terms of integrations and fusion middleware, etc. So let's say we'll start with what is integration, what is fusion, what is the difference between Oracle apps and fusion applications, and then we will also figure out what is a web service, like very high level. So that kind of background information first I'm going to talk about it, and then I will show one sample integration like Helloworld kind of integration. After that, we will also go ahead and see some advanced integrations. So when I say advanced integrations, I'm not going to build the integration today. I will show an existing integration which I have used in my last sessions, so that just to get an idea about what kind of integrations we'll be building towards end of the training or like later sessions, etc. Right? And I will again take the questions from your people after that. After showing this one, in fact, I will also talk about little more details on what are the different kind of resources you are going to get in this training, and how you are going to learn this, what kind of practices you will be doing, etc. We'll also discuss about that. Okay, so basically the course structure and different resources you are going to get. So that is the agenda for today's meeting. So with that, let me introduce quickly myself. This is Bhaskar. I have been in the IT field almost for last 20 years. So I am basically completely from technical background. I worked in Java and web technologies initially, and later on I have been working almost for more than 10 years in Oracle Fusion. When I say Oracle Fusion, the most of the experience comes from Oracle Fusion middleware like Oracle SOA, ADF, and like even Oracle Apex we have been using for some years now, and in the context of Fusion applications and Oracle applications. So that is my experience, very high level. Yes, so I have been working in the integration platforms like Oracle SOA, and now we adapted Oracle Integration Cloud, so which is available from the Oracle Cloud. Okay, so with that, let me go ahead and start the session. Yeah, I'm going to keep everybody on mute if you don't mind, and then so that there will be no noise. If you have any questions, you can unmute and ask. Okay. All right. So with this, see, we have Oracle Fusion. Okay. Most of you people are working, I'm assuming like Oracle apps, most of you. Okay. Some of you might be just working in integration platforms also without the context of Oracle Fusion.
Hello, Bhaskar.
Yeah, hi.
Your screen is blurring, I think.
Can everybody see my screen okay?
Yeah, it's okay. It's
Yeah, it's
clear.
okay, Vasu.
Okay. Surendra, I think it could be your internet problem. Just please check that. Okay. Right. Thanks for that confirmation. So we, most of you are working the Oracle applications and either techno-functional or technical, and now you are planning to, or you might be working the Oracle Fusion also. You would like to learn more things, Oracle Fusion technology and also integration side. That might be the most of the agenda for most of you people. So when you're talking to Oracle Fusion applications, which is available on Oracle Cloud, and then we had the Oracle applications earlier. So what is the major difference between these two? So Oracle applications mainly like database oriented DB technology. So whatever the kind of work you've done in Oracle applications in terms of technical, most of the times you are doing with the database side, like SQL, PLSQL, database, all that stuff. When it comes to Fusion applications, what Oracle has done, it has rewritten the complete set of applications with a new technology. That is Oracle Fusion Middleware, FMW, we call it. So what is Oracle Fusion Middleware? So basically Oracle tried to use more standard technologies available in the market, in terms of like just sticking towards database. So they are using this web technology like usually like Java Enterprise Edition. So that kind of architecture followed in the Fusion applications. And to achieve that one, Oracle has used Oracle Fusion middleware. So Oracle Fusion middleware comprises of multiple things like it contains so ADF and SOA, OBI and OIM, etc. So and then there is a WebLogic server which is acting as a middleware. So this application server where the application is actually deployed, and then on top of that, actually on the server, we also have all these platforms and frameworks which are used to build the Oracle Fusion applications. So that's where the gap actually for the consultants, like the technical people like us, like you, who worked in the Oracle applications, and now you want to work in the Fusion applications technical side. So there might be some gap because we never had a chance to work on web technologies and Java or web service, etc. But whereas the Fusion applications are completely built on those technologies, so we would like to understand or learn like those kind of on those aspects. That is the idea, right? Um, so then when it comes to integrations, right, it's a lot of talk about integrations now, but is the integrations new for you? I don't think so, right? Integrations you have been already doing directly or indirectly, even when you're working the Oracle applications, or if you're working with any other platforms also, you might be working with the integrations, right? So integrations, only thing is earlier, mostly you might be working everything using PLSQL APIs, which is changed now. What is changed now? You might be hearing about one thing called web services, right? Everywhere now web services when you're talking integrations, or they will say where to use Oracle SOA or Oracle Integration Cloud. So what is that one? So let us go and get a little more clarity on that. So it's important that we first get clarity about the technology. You should be understanding about the comprehensive picture about the technology. At the same time, learning the in-depth of each and every concept. But the comprehensive picture is very, very important so that you will be in the right position to take the decisions, and you will be confidently taking the decision so that you will not get doubt like, is this a right uh, solution for the given problem or not? See, you don't have that kind of problem when you go to Oracle, like applications in the database technologies, because you are very strong. Your foundation is very strong in the database. So you will never have the doubt there. But if you are working the integrations, even if you're working already without a proper foundation, without having the clarity on the fundamentals of these technologies, you might be always doubting whether this is the right approach or not, like that. So that's where you need to get the clarity on those fundamentals also. It's very important. Okay, so with that, let's quickly understand what is web service or why is it required and why is it integration becoming so complex now when it was not complex in terms of Oracle applications or the previous technologies, right? So what is an integration? Very high level integration is nothing but if you take an enterprise, if I'm running a business, right, I'm having an enterprise and I may be having a set of applications to run my business. A set of applications, I may not be buying everything from one vendor. That means I may not be having all the applications in the same technology. If you're having any very ideal situation, let's say all the applications are just running on the Oracle database on one server, then I don't really have a much problem in the integrations. But you cannot dictate that in any enterprise nowadays, right? Because in the business, what happens? I may be buying some applications from Oracle, which may be database applications. I may be buying some applications from Oracle again, which are Java applications. I may be buying something from SAP, something from Microsoft, which will be .NET, etc. So what happens is that is actually going to lead to have a heterogeneous applications, heterogeneous technologies in your enterprise. But at the same time, you cannot just run them individually. At some point, you need to exchange the messages among those applications to run your business properly, right? So all the applications running an enterprise, at some point, there will be a need for exchanging the messages among them. So you are basically having various applications built on different technologies. And you need to exchange the messages among those applications. That is the requirement. That is nothing but now you are going to build some integrations. If it was just database everything, you will be having a database link, maybe you will be able to achieve the integrations. If it's everything Java, I can share my Java APIs across the different applications. But just because we are having these different technologies, applications coming from different technologies, then we need to have a better mechanism for the building integrations. That's where we talk about web services. What is web service? What is the magic happening in the web service? How the web service is going to allow you to integrate between two different applications which are running on two different technologies, right? So for that, we have to get a little bit idea about what is web technology, because the web services are internally using the concept or the technology of the web application development or web technologies itself. It's leveraging that technology, and then we are going to get the web services. Okay. Now think about any application, any web application which you are using. Let's say website, for example. When you go to browser, you're accessing something, right? So even in that case also, you are able to in fact communicate with a remote application indirectly, right? When I go to browser and type something, I'm getting some data from some remote application, remote server. So that means the web application or the web service or the web technology actually enabling you to communicate between two different applications, which are in fact remotely available over the internet, and we don't know what technologies they are used in there. So what web service is doing, it is actually trying to leverage the same concept to achieve the integrations within enterprise also. Now, coming back to that web application, how is it possible? Browser is able to communicate with a remote application. That is because of two things. One thing is we are accessing that functionality with the help of a URL, first thing. And then it is using a protocol called HTTP protocol. So basically the client and server, they are able to communicate with a standard protocol, in this case HTTP protocol, and then they both are actually, the client is able to call the functionality of the server using one URL. The moment it becomes URL, it becomes independent of technology. It's very thumb rule. You expose any functionality as a URL, then it becomes independent of technology. That URL can be invoked by any client application, any other client application. So the client application may be running in Java, PLSQL, .NET, it doesn't matter. You'll be able to access that functionality. The same concept actually the web service uses. Very high level, in a layman term I'm explaining. When you go and actually learn web services later sessions, we are going to actually understand about what is a SOAP web service, what is a REST service, how we are going to build a SOAP service or REST service, how we are going to invoke the service. The more details of that one, the technical aspects of that one will be learning in the sessions. But if you want to just understand very high level, web service is actually what it is doing is,
Bhaskar, can I stop you for a minute?
yeah.
Yeah, see, actually, when you say like web service, like when you publish this URL, it will be accessible over the internet. So it is a internet call, correct? That is
Could
what
be
you mean to say.
internet or it could be internet or intranet. Okay, it could be anything.
Internet or intranet.
Yeah. Okay.
So if it is an internet, then based on the if it is internet, everybody can access. If it is intranet, only within the internet, intranet who is there, only they can access it, right?
Right.
Okay, fine.
Okay. Right. So the web service is basically exposing the functionality as a URL. Okay. Either it is SOAP web service or REST web service. Fundamentally, it is exposing the functionality using URL so that it becomes independent of technology and platform. We can call all these things language, and also in fact the location. It can be anywhere in the location as long as you are able to reach out that using your net. You'll be able to access that functionality. You'll be able to access that web service. Okay. So in case of web application, usually there is a 3-layer architecture followed. Like where you're having client and there is an application server, and then you are having a database. So the client is like your browser in case of web application. In case of web services, what happens? The client would be another application you are building. And that application will send a request to your server, which is app server. Also, you can say web server. The web server will be having the server side components like your Java programs or database programs. It could be like your .NET programs, etc., which will actually have the functionality of that web service. But you already exposed the URL. That URL you'll be able to call by client. The request comes here. Then the server understands based on the request what exactly it has to do, which server side component it has to forward the request to. The server side component will be able to communicate with the database if required, and it is going to trigger those SQL statements over there, get the data or push the data based on the request type. Then if there is a response required, it is going to convert that into appropriate structure what client is expecting. In case of web technology, web applications, it will be usually always HTML. In case of normal web services, I mean the web services, it could be like XML or JSON, or it could be CSV, like that, what the client is expecting. So that's how any web like HTTP protocol works. That usually you're having 3 layers, which is different in case of database applications. In case of database applications, usually you don't have these multiple layers, or you are generally having client and your database. But in the web application architecture, you're always going to have usually like these 3 layers. And the Fusion middleware actually uses that technology or that architecture. Okay. So what I'm trying to say is when you are going to Fusion applications, the way they are deployed, Fusion applications are actually using this 3-layer architecture in the server side. You're having a database and lots of business logic will be built, like some is a database and some of that would be at the application server layer also, like it could be Java, ADF, etc. And then either you are having a URL which you'll be able to call from the browser as an end user, or there can be URLs which are web services which will be able to call from the integrations, like you're using SOA platform for integrations or OSI platform for the integrations, or you may be writing a simple Java client also for the integration. So those web services will be called by the clients. So that's how the 3-layer architecture works in case of web service or web technology architecture. Okay, so just to get an idea about what are the different technologies and what is the connection, I just wanted to explain this. We'll be talking in fact the same thing maybe in more details in the sessions. I'm just trying to put multiple things together here so that you're going to get the complete picture of the technology and the course. Okay, so I will move on with this. I will take the questions maybe later. So let's just park this aside. We're having a web service which is exposing the functionality as URL. We understood that one, and we also understand what is the 3-layer architecture means and the difference between Fusion applications and Oracle application in terms of the technology. So we got an idea now, right? So with this, what I will do, quick again, why we are having so many different things. We are having Oracle SOA, we're having Oracle Integration Cloud or ICS, right? Yeah, these are the mainly there some people might be using MuleSoft integration, all this stuff.
Right? Bangalore to Kannur vartunte, please select start lesson.
Okay, I muted everyone. If you want to really talk, just you can unmute, sorry. Right, so what is SOA, ICS and all these things? So we have a web service and that is a building block for any integrations. Okay, now the SOA is a platform again, which is very, very popular in the market. Using SOA, you can build the integrations. What it means, SOA also going to use a web service only internally. But what happens is if you don't have a platform to build the integrations, either invoking the web services to build your business process or exposing your functionality as a web service, you may have to put a lot of effort to achieve that. Right? So what usually you are doing, you are going to either invoke a web service or multiple web services in your business process, or you want to build a new web service or expose your functionality as a web service. These are 2 things you would like to do in the new technology stack. So in order to achieve this one, there are multiple platforms like this. Without this platform also you can achieve this one. Let's say you are just Java expert. You can go and develop web services using Java also. You can also invoke web services. But the thing is, those platforms or those languages were not built for supporting the web services. They support it, but their core thing in those applications, I mean, those platforms is not about web services. So that is the reason there are other platforms which will be able to help us building or achieving these kind of things in very, very easy manner. And also they come with a lot of platforms, I mean, a lot of tools and like supporting tools, etc. So that it will be easy for you to build your integrations or build your business process where you have to invoke the web services or where you have to expose them as a web services. So SOA is having different concepts. Usually you're having something like mediator, Beppel, human task, business tools, and then like event-driven delivery network, etc. There are like different components available. That platform is like very, very popular, and it is mostly used in on-premises like kind of stuff. Now it's also available in the cloud, SOA cloud service. So that is one platform. Then what Oracle did, SOA actually will be very complex in terms of the infrastructure you have to manage or the kind of tools you have to go and use to achieve integrations, etc. So that is the reason what Oracle has done. Oracle actually has provided this integration cloud service or OIC, where most of the things are actually much, much easier now. Since it is available, first thing it is available in the cloud. That means you don't need to worry about the infrastructure, like installing the server or installing like additional your frameworks on the server and using JDeveloper, for example, to build the application, then deploying to server, going to console, WebLogic console, enterprise manager. So many things we are going to use in case of SOA, which becomes too complex. There is a lot of learning curve for you guys. But whereas it comes to Oracle Integration Cloud or ICS, your learning curve is actually much, much shorter if you compare with SOA. Because you're not dealing with too many tools and too many like nothing to worry about the infrastructure. The third thing is even the kind of terminology what we use in ICS is much more business terminology instead of too much technical. So that is the reason Oracle is recommending all kind of fusion integrations. If you're working with the fusion applications, if you want to build any integrations, you have a choice of platforms, but Oracle's recommendation is to use ICS and OIC for that, because it's coming from the cloud and we have all those advantages. And that is the reason we are here to learn the Oracle Integration Cloud. Okay. The MuleSoft is also on another platform, which is actually, it is a open source platform, which is again used for achieving the integrations. Like that, in fact, there are many other platforms also in the market, right? So with that, what I will do, let me go ahead and show one Helloworld integration. I can take few questions before that. Any quick questions? No? Okay. You have to unmute and talk if you want, if you have any questions.
So what is the difference between OICS and ICS?
Yeah, OICS basically, 1 second, please. Hold on, I'm getting this one. Yeah, OICS and ICS. ICS is only about integrations. OICS also includes your integrations, and there is something called Visual Builder Cloud Service, VBCS, and Process Cloud Service. So just more than the integrations, OICS means. Okay. Any other questions?
But this OIC ICS is part of the SaaS, or is it part of the PaaS?
These all things are called PaaS only. Only like your fusion applications, like basically you're having three things, right? One is called IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. So I can explain this later again in detail, but SaaS is like your fusion applications. PaaS means all kind of platforms like your SOA cloud service, OICS or ICS cloud service, a database cloud service, or Java cloud service, like that. These are the platforms. And the infrastructure means it's just about your server. Like you want to have a Unix server, like with some like that, or etc. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions before I show the integration? Okay. So when you come to integration, I logged into Oracle Integration Cloud instance here. Just 1 second. Let me push this one down my Zoom panel. So when you log into Integration Cloud or OICS, As I mentioned, you are having multiple things here. One is the integrations, you can see that. Then Visual Builder, we also have the processes. This is called Process Cloud Service, Visual Builder Cloud Service, integrations. Recently, they also introduced something called B2B. So this is more of like exchanging the documents, business documents, etc. B2B. So let me go ahead and talk a little bit about integrations. So our primary focus will be the integrations in the training, but we're also going to cover the Visual Builder Cloud Service and Process Cloud Service. Right. So when it comes to the integrations, you are going to learn with different things here. You are going to understand what are the connections means, what are the adapters means, what is agent, what is package, what is lookups, libraries, and how to build various kind of integrations. Right. And just now we discussed that integration is nothing but you are going to communicate between two different applications usually, right? It means you may be having a web service which is exposed by the other application, and you want to invoke that web service to achieve something in your business process, right? You may be invoking one service or multiple web services, right? So what we want to build here is Helloworld integration, which is not really very useful integration. Nobody will build an integration like this. But just to get an idea of different things are available in the integration cloud or the flow of building an integration, I will just take this example. Okay. So Helloworld integration, what I want to do is I already have something called, in fact, Helloworld web service is there. Already existing web service. That means I'm having a WSDL for this one. We'll be talking about what is WSDL, what is SOAP, etc. in the next session. Today, just assume that WSDL is nothing but it's a URL what is exposed to access the web service, or the details of the web service available in the WSDL. So there's already an existing web service like this, Helloworld. This is having an operation called say hello. This operation takes an input, any name, and gives an output called hello name, like this. Now what I want to do is, I want to build my own integration called greetings. Here also I'm going to expose one operation. This I want to expose as a service first of all. When I say service, usually web service. This operation also will take a name, but here what I want to do is hello name greetings from OIC. This is what I want to return. I can build everything also my integration. What I want to do is I want to actually use my existing web service so that I'm going to get hello name. Think that this is very complex requirement. It's not just hello name. I don't want to rebuild that one. Then what I want to do, I want to just suffix like no, I'm going to attach my greetings from OIC also and then return that to my client. So this is what I am building and this is already there. So let us go and see what we do in the integration cloud to achieve this one. So now you can replace these things with any other web services. Instead of hello world service, assume that tomorrow it could be some fusion web service. Okay. The same thing you are going to, in the same way you are going to invoke. And in stuff like no greetings from OIC, I'm just attaching, you may want to like no do much more processing, manipulation of the data before you send back to the client, something like that. Okay. So let's say I want to retrieve some invoice from the fusion applications. I want to manipulate and send some data back to my client. That's what I'm building in the integration. Instead of that one, I'm building very hello world integration to just showcase how we do that. All right. Okay. So with that, I come to integration. So multiple things you are going to do. First thing what you do in the integration is you are going to build something called connections. So when you go and build the connection, there's a create, and you have to build the connection based on an existing adapters. I'll talk about adapters and all in detail in the sessions. So in this case, I'm going to build a connection based on SOAP adapter. It means it's an existing SOAP service. So my SOAP service is, I'm going to say BK demo hello world service. This is an existing connection. Create. So for this, I need to have the WSDL URL. So I'll go and take the WSDL from my system, which is already downloaded and kept here readily. So for that one, I'll be using my invoke WSDL, hello world, upload, click OK. And this web service, I also know that it's not taking any security. It's no security policy required. Click OK. So this connection, I built it, test it, and okay, I'm really going fast today. We will be going a little more like slower pace when you actually do the real sessions. So this is my one integration, one connection I built for the Hello World existing service. I'm creating one more connection based on the SOAP only. This is for my trigger. This is called trigger connection, means this is what my client is going to invoke. Greetings. This is going to be trigger connection, create. And then for this one, the WSDL URL, again, I take it from another WSDL. It's taking some time. Choose file. So this is going to be my greetings trigger.wsdl. Greetings trigger.wsdl. Okay. Upload. Click OK. And this I'm going to protect my web service using username and password token. So I leave like that. Test it. And save and close. So both the connections are created. Now I go to integrations. I'll build a new integration for this one. There are different ways of building the integrations: app-driven orchestration, scheduled orchestration, basic routing, publish, subscribe, file transfer. I will choose the app-driven orchestration. We'll be understanding about when to choose what in the actual sessions when we go and discuss more. So my integration name, I will keep this one as a BK demo greetings. I'll also give a package name called BK demo for this one. Create. Now this is orchestration. If anybody worked the Beppel in SOA, this would be very similar to that one, Beppel. Okay. So here there are various things you are going to learn in order to achieve the orchestration. One thing is there is something called different existing services, what you can call the connections. Then this is here. Okay, let me first drop one trigger connection. So the trigger connection I'm going to drop here is the one I just now created, BK demo greetings. So the endpoint, I will say BK demo greetings. Click next, next. So the already I already uploaded the WSDL, right? So based on the WSDL, it's going to understand the specification of the web service what you're exposing. So these are beauty of the platforms. If you don't have this kind of platforms to create a web service, you are going to put a lot of additional overhead, how you are creating WSDL, how you are going to build those metadata files, all that stuff. So you don't get into all that stuff here. Now what I do, I'm going to invoke the existing Hello World service. So for that one here, then here BK demo. Just taking time. I'll drop from here. So it's a SOAP connection. It's a little bit slow, just we have to wait. Sometimes this performance issues will be there. Come on. It could be internet problem also. Hold on for a moment. Yeah. So BK demo Hello World service. It's really slow, man. Okay. While it is coming up, I can take the questions actually. Yeah, now it's back. Fine. Hopefully it should be okay now. Otherwise, I'll just log out and log in here. Save this. Otherwise, we'll lose everything what you've done. Okay. Come on. This cannot be. Actually, what happens sometimes, Zoom also creates the performance, like no too much of loading in my system. Usually, we don't face this. We build so many integrations, right? Really behaving too much this one. 1 second, please. I'll. Any questions while you're opening this one? I'm just closing and opening again. I'll share my screen back. Okay, now it looks my system is okay. I'm opening again. Okay, share my screen.
Any limitation on the size will be there, Bhaskar? Is there any limitation on the cell? Let's say, for example, we are going to send some attachment. I believe we can also send some attachment also through this, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, those and all, of course, there is always a limit of like 2 GB, like etc. If you're uploading a file, those limitations are based on the adapters basically. So we are going to learn different adapters like FTP file adapters. So when we go there, we'll be able to understand what are the different like the limitations of these adapters. Okay. So did I type something else here? PK demo. Hello world. Yeah. Okay, so this is working now. So hello world. So this is going to be invoke hello world. Next. So in the hello world service, I'm going to invoke say hello. Click next. Next and done. So now what is happening here? You can see this is what I'm exposing to my client, my greetings web service or greetings operation. And then this is what I'm going to call the existing web service. And so before I invoke this one, I need to go and map the input to that web service. So for that operation, whatever the input I'm getting, the first name I'm getting from my client, and I'm going to send that as input to my say hello operation. The say hello operation, there is a name. So I map that, validate and close. And then there is actually the final response, which we are going to respond that one here. So remove the reposition. So this is invoking, I'm getting the response. And in the response, what we do now, I'm getting the hello world, hello name response. So here we go and take that response, whatever coming from invoke hello world. And this is my greetings. So map this to, and then what do? You actually go and use a concat operation here. So if you go to advanced functions, you're having like no concat. Otherwise, you can also type it. Like you will say concat. So what I want to concatenate, I want to take the everything what I'm getting, then also keep a comma, greetings from OIC. This is what I am attaching. This is a concat operation. So validate this one. If there's any errors, it is going to show that. So looks okay. Close this one. Close it. Apply. Right. So now what happens? That's all actually. I'm invoking the hello world service, getting the response, and then I'm attaching, like now I'm manipulating the data and sending that back to my client. And there is one more step here. There is something called tracking field. So in every integration, you are going to add a tracking field like this. So the tracking field will be helpful to monitor your requests later when you are actually getting the requests. Save and close. And then you are going to activate this integration. So this is all actually very easy in terms of integration cloud. If you have to do the same thing using Oracle SO or other platforms, you're going to build this integration like using some JDeveloper kind of tool. Then you're going to deploy to your server using some your administration like console, etc. Sorry, somebody is actually trying to annotate. I don't know why. Right. So once you activate this one, your web service, you are going to get a WSDL like this. So take the WSDL either from here or there, like how to run this. You're getting the WSDL. Copy this link address, and then I want to test it. See, in this case, I'm exposing my integration as a service, right? That's why I need to go and test using some external tool like SOAP UI. Using SOAP UI, I'm going to test it. But what happens in reality, most of the integrations what you'll be building will be the scheduled integrations. In case of scheduled integrations, then you're not going to invoke separately. You're going to schedule them saying, I want to automate my integration, which should be running in certain interval. So in that case, you don't need to go to SOAP UI and invoke that one. So I go to SOAP UI now because I'm exposing my integration as a web service. So I will use test greetings and click OK. So once you come here, now I'm getting a request. So this is what I want to send here. Let's say I want to send Bhaskar. And then what I need to do, I also need to go and add the authentication here. So in the authentication, I need to enter the username and password. So just 1 second, let me take the username and password. I'll put the username and password. Right. Then you are going to say something like WSS username token, password text. And after that, you're going to submit the request. So if everything is working as expected, you are going to get the response back. So in the response you're getting here, you can see this everything is SOAP based web services. So we are getting a SOAP structure. The request also called SOAP envelope. The response also are getting a SOAP envelope. And hello Bhaskar, greetings from OIC. This part came from my existing web service. This part I have added. So like that, when you are building the integration, I just wanted to show what are the different steps involved in that one. So while you are building integrations, you are going to first identify what are the different external services you are going to invoke. And those services will be available as a web services or as separate adapters, technology adapters, etc. And you are going to build the connections for them first. So once you build the connections, you will be able to build the integrations. And the integrations you are going to actually build the logic. So what we have built today is very simple logic. I will be showing another example where you are having much more complex logic. There I'm not going to build everything. It will take like 1 hour to build, almost half an hour, etc. I'll be showing an existing one and we'll just run and demonstrate. Okay. So let me do that one also, then I'll take the questions. All right. So what we do now, this is a simple greetings integration. So where I'm sending some name, I'm getting the hello world kind of thing. So now let us talk about some real-time scenario. The real-time scenario is, you might be knowing file-based data input in Fusion applications if you're working in the Fusion applications already. This is used for bulk upload or bulk import of the data to Fusion. So here there is a standard approach or standard steps are required to complete this FBDI. So there is something like, you have to download the template, prepare the data, and then generate CSV and zip files, upload to UCM, then schedule the process. After that, you can wait for the process to complete in the Fusion applications. Then you are going to download the log files to see if anything went wrong, all that stuff. So what we want to do is we want to automate all those steps using FBDI. It means there's an FTP folder and your third-party system is actually generating CSV files or zip files and keeping there. So we want to build our integration to upload the CSV to Fusion, then schedule the process for the FBDI, wait to process completion, then download the log files. The log files, you want to write them again to a FTP folder. So this kind of thing you want to automate. In order to achieve that one, so what we'll take an example called daily rates. In the Fusion applications, I want to upload that using FBDI. So here, if you look at an integration which is already built, BK demo FBDI ERP, yeah. So I will take this one. Let me open that. I'll come back and explain a little bit later again what we have done. But in this integration, you can see there are so many endpoints. We are invoking so many different things. We're also using a while loop to achieve that one. So I'll do a little bit bigger. So here we are reading from FTP. Then I'm going to then I'm using ERP cloud adapter to trigger my FBDI process, which internally also takes your file content uploads. And then I'm going to wait until the process is completed. I'm using a while loop to wait for that one. Then get the log files after everything is done. Then those log files I want to write to my FTP. All that I'm implemented in this integration. So what I want to do now, let me just go ahead and check what file it is trying to read so that I will keep the same for an FTP. It is reading actually 6.1. Okay, let me do one thing. I'll just go and modify that one. I'll deactivate this, not this one. I'll deactivate my FBDI. So that I can go and let me make it a little bigger. Change this. I will go back and change this to 02. Today's date I'll take. Next, done. Update. So save this and close. And then I will activate this one. Activate. And in the meantime, let me go to my my FTP. So FTP, this is my folder on FTP server. I have created this 20200602 daily rates. So let us see what is there in that. You are having actually some list of daily rates. Like this is the from currency to currency, from date to date. Then what kind of currency? What is the currency conversion rate and the inverse conversion rate? Like that. Here I'm actually having I think 10 or 11 records. But usually you may be using FBDI when you are having in fact large amount of data, even more than this one. But I can take this example. Right, in this now I have these records. I kept some values. We can take some example INR to USD. Let's say this is going to be let's say 74 point. I'll put 2 here and also put 2 here for a moment in this example, so that we can go and clarify that, check whether it is actually reflecting in the Fusion or not after everything is completed. So save this and close it. Okay, then what I will do, my integration is activated here. So what I'm planning to do is, my integration has to take this file from FTP server, upload to Fusion UCM, and schedule the FBDI process, wait for the process completion, download the log files. The log file should be written to my out files in the FBDI logs here. Right now there is 1.zip. Let us go and see. If everything is working as expected, it has to generate the log files for this new one also. Okay, so I will go and submit one request for this one. So you notice here, right? In case of Helloworld, what I did, in order to invoke, I had to go to SOAP UI and invoke it. But in case of FBDI, I have used the schedule orchestration. In this case, I need not go and invoke it. I'm simply scheduling or submitting one request. Okay. So that's how it works. So we'll just wait for a few seconds because it will take time to completion. Then we'll go and check whether FTP you're getting the file, or if there's any error in case of integration also will come to know when you go to monitoring. So that also we can go and check what happened. Fine. So that's about, and where we want to check this one, I'll go and check in the Fusion application. So let me log into Fusion application in the meantime. So I came to Fusion applications. So in fact, you can go to this is setup and maintenance for daily rates, and there is a manage daily rates task. So using that, I can check the daily rates available over there in the Fusion applications. So this is a manage daily rates. So let's see if our integration is completed. I can actually check that from monitoring integrations. So this is complete. You can see there is FBDI 1 successfully completed. So in fact, I can also go to my FBDI and see it has generated the log files. Refresh. I think date is, yeah, it's actually saying it is overwriting 2.6 because we have reactivated. So just now it has taken the log file. So here we can download and check that. We will download to some folder, maybe temp. Remove this one. Delete and download this. Okay, so this one got downloaded. Now what also we can check, we can go to daily rates. In the daily rates, from currency we'll take INR or USD to INR, both are okay. And to currency USD for today's date, right? That's what I've taken. And it was a corporate search for that. So you can see 0.02 to 74.2. That's what we are given, if you remember, from this file, whatever the input file was there. So like that, you can also go and check for all other currencies also. Basically, this is reflecting the data what is processed using our integration. And one more interesting thing you can see here in the log files. Let me come to my file here. It is under temp and A1. So extract these files. When you extract here, you will get 4 files because the FBDI process actually triggers multiple processes. So the process which is actually the highest one, 589, you can see that it actually explains what all happened. It is saying There were 11 records total. In that, actually, there were 2 error records. Actually, those 2 error records failed. FBDI did not complete. Why that one? You can go and check in the input file. You will get an idea why the 2 records actually failed. The 2 records would be something to do with, I think, couple of, like, no, maybe not correct. In this case, you can see USD to DKKP. In fact, the conversion, like, the code will be, the daily rates code is actually only 3 characters. In this case, somebody kept DKKP, and you can see one more KRWT. So these 2 records actually not valid. So FBDI will not fail completely. It is going to process whichever is, like, no successful records going to be, like, no successfully completed. If any error records are there, they will be failed. So from the integration point of view, our FBDI process is completed, but the log files will be helpful to identify if anything went wrong. That is the reason what we are doing the integration here. So we are actually, after everything is done, we are going and waiting for the log files. We are downloading that and dumping it to FTP. Okay. So that's what this FBDI, this is like, no, some advanced integration. So what happens is, basically, when you are in the course, we are building, learning these steps, like, no, from by step. We're going to, in fact, learn with very basics of like, no, these technologies. Let me just go ahead and talk about that quickly, another 2 minutes. So when you come to this course curriculum, right, we're going to, basically, there are 4 parts you can see. Part 1 and part 2. Where is part 2? Part 2 is Oracle Fusion Technical. Part 1 is your integration cloud service. Part 2 is Fusion Technical. Part 3 is advanced live integrations with Fusion applications, like what you have done, for example, the FBDI. Like that, we're actually having various use cases to build the advanced integrations. And also, we are going to cover ADF, SOA, and VBCS and PCS, which are the related technologies at the part 4. So now, when you are going to start the training, we are not going to build the integration directly. We are going to first understand about some fundamentals, what is XML, XSD, JSON, SOAP web service, REST web service, all those fundamentals. Then you are going to work with, like, no, simple integrations like Helloworld, or building, like, no, small integrations like order processing, validate CC. Like, no, we are taking some use cases. So we'll be using all the adapters, like, no, file, FTP, database, SOAP, REST, and so on. We are going to work with different integration patterns, and then we are going to build orchestration itself is actually having so many things to learn. We're going to learn each and every activity of that one. For example, loops, conditions, how to send notifications, fault management, all those kind of stuff. Then you're going to deal with different use cases as part of the project work. This project work or the use case are going to enable us to work on all kind of different kind of, like, the aspects in the integrations. Like, we are dealing with SOAP web services, REST web services, FTP folder, and the FTP files, or, like, your file system, database, CSV format, JSON format, multiple record, single record, all those, like, fold read. So with this help, we will be actually getting complete picture about how to use or how to develop any kind of integrations. Then data mapping, anyway, like, part of the integrations, we are going to learn the mapping, how to use different functions in the mapping, etc. Then how to maintain the integration. So in the part 1, we're not talking anything about Fusion. We're learning the technology here. It's like you're learning, for example, PLSQL as a programming language, or Java as a programming language with different use cases. You're getting comprehensive picture of that one. Then we go ahead and learn Fusion Technical. In the Fusion Technical, you are learning without, again, concept of integration cloud here. You're learning, like, what is the reporting, OBI, BIP, OTBI reporting. Then what is file-based data import, how to do that manually. And then how to work with your file import, export, UCM, and enterprise schedule service, how to schedule services, those kind of stuff. That is like your concurrent programs in Oracle applications, right? So here in this, we are learning the Fusion Technical because why we are doing, because 2 reasons. If you're working the Fusion side, you will be like, as a technical person, you are going to work with these functional, the technical modules. You have to learn that. The second thing is, whatever you're learning in the Fusion Technical here in the part 2, and what you already learned in the part 1 about the integrations, we're going to put together and build advanced live integrations with Fusion application. That is the idea here. For example, you are building a BIP report here. I want to develop an integration to download that report, let's say daily, once in a day. And I want to read the data from that report and manipulate it also. If you want to develop that kind of thing, we're going to do that as part of the BIP report integration. FBDI, you know already in the part 2, manual steps, you want to automate that now using ERP cloud adapter, or you want to automate using ERP integration service. There are two different ways of doing that. We are going to build that one. You want to work with REST APIs of Fusion applications to create some objects. You want to work with SOAP APIs of Fusion applications to deal with some operations. Like that, we're taking multiple use cases, multiple ways of communicating the Fusion applications. And at the same time, your source data might be again different things. The source may be coming from a file, FTP or database, and so on, right? So all those combinations, we are putting together part 1, part 2, and then everything you are building as a live integration to Fusion application, the part 3. Then we come to part 4, where we are learning about ADF, what is ADF and what is VBCS, what is SOBA, what is PCS, with multiple examples. But here again, you're not going the depth what we do in the integration cloud area, because you can see now we're putting all these things together. We are learning in as one part. This is more getting the idea about these technologies and going to one sample examples we are going to build with different use cases, so that you are getting again comprehensive picture of all these technologies in the Oracle Integration Cloud, and you will be in a position to also take the decisions properly tomorrow. If somebody says no, when you are in the team, they will say no, we want to build the integration using SOA. Now, if you don't know anything about SOA, then you will not be able to participate in the discussion. But if you also know what is Oracle SOA, how you build the integrations over there, and you already know the expert, you are an expert in the integration cloud, then you'll be able to take the right decisions and participate in the discussion. Say, no, probably we don't need to go for Oracle SOA because this will be very easily achieved in the integration cloud. Like that. So that is actually reason we are also learning and getting the idea of other technologies here. So by end of this training, so you will be in a very confident position, and where you already learned all these technologies, and you have worked with multiple use cases. So then you will be able to provide solutions for any kind of problems or any kind of given use cases in the your actual work, right? And then how you are going to learn is you're actually one thing is, of course, we're having the sessions where I'm going to demonstrate everything, right? That's one thing. And you're going to get all the recordings access of each and every session on the same day. On top of that, I have several resources which I created only for this training. What are the files we are going to use during our integrations, during our explanation? All those XML, CSV, XSD, everything will be shared with you guys, this whole folder. WSDL files, any kind of files, you will be having the access to that one. We're also having an activity guide, which is a Fusion technical, the Oracle Integration activity guide. So this activity guide actually has a list of all the activities what we're going to work on. It's also having the detailed steps of how we are going to work on those activities. In some cases, you are going to have the additional recordings for this one, instead of having the steps. This is an activity guide you'll be getting access. In addition to that, I'll also be maintaining a practices sheet where I'll be again writing after every session what are the different practices you're going to work on before the next session. And I'm actually keeping the names of participants so that I can again put a tick mark the next session whether I worked on it or not worked on it. So that I want to just make sure that it's not just attending the sessions, but you also need to go back and practice these things what you are learning in the course. That's very, very important. So like that, we're going to have 30 odd different use cases you are going to work on, at least as part of this training. Right. I think, yeah, that's all from my side. Actually, I covered, I think, whatever I wanted to cover as part of this kind of overview session. And then, yeah, so Now I can take the questions from you guys. It was
I